Far from Earth, on the quiet edge of human space, there was a small colony called New Carthage. It was not an important world. It was not rich or famous. It was simply a place where humans lived, worked, and hoped for a better future. The planet was orange and dusty, with long deserts and wide oceans of red sand. A few cities stood across its surface, built by miners, engineers, and families who wanted a new life among the stars. For many years, New Carthage was peaceful. Cargo ships arrived every week. Mining stations worked day and night. Children played under the open sky while transport shuttles moved slowly above the cities. The people believed they were safe. But on one cold morning, everything changed. High above the planet, the orbital defense station suddenly detected strange signals in deep space. At first, the operators thought it was a normal trade convoy. But the signals kept growing. One ship, then 5, then dozens. Within seconds, the station commander realized something was wrong. These ships were not human. Huge shadows began to appear from hyperspace. Massive alien warships dropped into orbit like dark giants falling from the sky. The stars disappeared behind them. Sirens began screaming across the defense station. Unknown fleet detected. Multiple capital ships entering orbit. Energy weapons charging. Down on the surface, people looked up in confusion. Many colonists stepped outside their homes and workplaces to see what was happening. Above them, the sky slowly filled with enormous shapes. The alien ships were long and sharp, covered in dark armor. Blue lights burned across their hulls like cold stars. They moved in perfect formation, silent and terrifying. For a few seconds, the entire colony watched in silence. Then the first shot was fired. A beam of bright white energy shot down from orbit. It struck the main defense platform near the capital city. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. Shockwaves rolled across the city. Windows shattered. Buildings trembled. People began to run in panic. Orbital station destroyed, someone shouted across the emergency network. The alien fleet did not stop. More weapons fired from orbit. Giant beams of energy and missiles rained down toward the surface. The colony's small defense ships launched from underground hangars. Brave pilots rushed into space, trying to defend their home. But the battle was hopeless. Human fighters were small and fast, but the alien fleet was massive. Their warships were built for destruction. One by one, the human ships were destroyed. In the cities below, chaos spread through the streets. Emergency alarms echoed everywhere. Families rushed toward evacuation shelters while rescue teams tried to guide people underground. But the attacks kept coming. A huge alien cruiser moved over the capital city. Its weapons glowed brighter and brighter. Then it fired. A massive energy blast crashed into the center of the city. The ground shook violently. Towers collapsed into clouds of fire and smoke. Millions of lives disappeared in seconds. Across the planet, more cities were hit. Mining stations exploded. Spaceports burned. Communication towers fell silent. Within 1 hour, New Carthage was no longer a living colony. It was a burning world. Far away, deep in space, a single damaged human patrol ship escaped the destruction. Its engines struggled as it jumped into hyperspace. Inside the ship, the surviving officer stared at the burning planet on the screen. His hands were shaking. He sent one final message toward Earth. A simple message. New Carthage has fallen. Alien fleet responsible. Millions dead. Then the signal traveled across the stars. Days later, it reached Earth. In the Great Command Center of the United Terran Defense Fleet, military officers gathered in silence as the report played on the main screen. The room was completely quiet. Images of the destroyed colony slowly faded away. For many years, humanity had chosen diplomacy. Humans had tried to build peace with the galaxy. But now a human colony had been erased. An entire world had been burned. The commander of the Terran fleet looked around the room. His voice was calm, but heavy with anger. "They destroyed one of our colonies," he said slowly. No one spoke. The commander then gave a single order. A command that would soon shake the entire galaxy. "Prepare the fleet." Because somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity was about to answer. The news of New Carthage spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. At first, many civilizations did not believe it. A full human colony destroyed in 1 hour. Entire cities burned from orbit. It sounded impossible. But the evidence was clear. Broken transmissions from the colony. Sensor records from nearby trade routes. The final report from the surviving Terran patrol ship. The images were broadcast across hundreds of star systems. People everywhere saw the same terrible sight, an entire planet covered in fire. In the Galactic Council chambers, leaders from many alien empires gathered to discuss the situation. The Great Hall was filled with tension. Some civilizations were shocked by the attack. Others were less surprised. Humanity had expanded quickly during the last century. New colonies appeared near the borders of older empires. Many alien leaders believed humans were growing too fast. Then the truth finally arrived. The empire responsible for the attack stepped forward. They were known as the Varkathi Dominion, a powerful and proud civilization with a large military fleet. Their ambassador stood before the council and spoke calmly, as if nothing terrible had happened. The colony called New Carthage was built inside Varkathi territorial space, he said. The attack was a lawful action to protect our borders. The chamber filled with angry whispers. Several council members demanded an explanation. Millions of humans had died. Entire cities had been destroyed. But the Varkathi ambassador did not show any regret. Instead, he delivered a message meant for Earth. If humanity wishes to avoid further conflict, he said, they must abandon all colonies near Varkathi space immediately. Then he paused. And if they refuse, the Dominion will declare war. The entire council chamber fell silent. Many alien leaders believed humanity would choose peace. Humans had always preferred negotiation instead of war. For centuries, they had solved most problems through diplomacy. Even when conflicts happened, humanity tried to avoid total destruction. Because of this reputation, many empires believed humans were cautious. Maybe even weak. But far away, in the Sol system, things were very different. On Earth, the United Terran Command was already holding emergency meetings. Military leaders, fleet admirals, and government officials gathered in a massive underground command center. The air inside the room felt heavy. The destruction of New Carthage played again on the main screen. No one spoke for several minutes. Finally, Admiral Marcus Hale stood up from his seat. He was an old officer who had served humanity for more than 40 years. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "They didn't just destroy a colony," he said quietly. "They destroyed our people." The room remained silent. Then another officer spoke. "The Varkathi Dominion has issued a warning. They demand we abandon nearby colonies or they will declare war." Admiral Hale looked around the room. "War?" he repeated. For a moment, it almost sounded like he was surprised. Then he slowly shook his head. "They already started the war." Around the table, several commanders nodded. Humanity had tried diplomacy for generations. They had built alliances and trade networks across the stars. But the destruction of New Carthage had crossed a line. Millions of innocent lives had been erased in 1 hour. The decision was made quickly. Earth would not abandon its colonies. And Earth would not accept threats. The Terran High Council prepared an official message for the Varkathi Dominion. Across the galaxy, alien governments waited to hear humanity's answer. Many believed humans would ask for negotiations or request a peaceful settlement. But the Terran response was short. Very short. The message was transmitted to the Galactic Council and every major civilization. Only 2 words appeared on the screen. War accepted. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate. Some empires were shocked. Others were curious. Many believed humanity was making a terrible mistake. The Varkathi Dominion was powerful. Their fleets controlled large regions of space. Fighting them would not be easy. But what most civilizations did not know was that humanity had been preparing for something like this for a very long time. Hidden deep inside asteroid belts, behind distant moons, and inside secret star systems. Ancient human shipyards waited quietly in the darkness. For decades they had remained silent. But now a new command had arrived from Earth. Across human space, old factories woke up. Massive shipyards activated their engines. Construction drones began moving again. And the stars themselves seemed to shake as humanity started preparing something the galaxy had never seen before. The first ships began launching within hours. At first there were only a few fleets. But soon, there would be thousands. Across human space, the order spread faster than light. Shipyards that had been quiet for decades suddenly came alive. Massive construction stations hidden in asteroid belts began to glow with activity. Giant factory rings around distant planets started building ships without stopping. Humanity had always prepared for the worst. For many years, most alien civilizations believed humans were peaceful explorers. They saw trade ships, research vessels, and small patrol fleets moving between colonies. But what they did not see were the hidden military projects. Deep inside remote star systems, enormous shipyards had been quietly building warships. Battleships that had never been used. Carriers that had never launched fighters. Entire fleets waiting in silence. Now those fleets were finally moving. Near Mars, hundreds of massive warships slowly left their orbital docks. Their engines burned bright blue as they entered hyperspace one after another. Around Jupiter, a huge fleet gathered near the planet's rings. The ships were enormous, some of them longer than entire cities. Thousands of smaller escort ships surrounded them like a moving wall of steel. At the same time, fleets began leaving from dozens of other human systems. Ships launched from the Proxima colonies. Ships launched from the Alpha Centauri defense yards. Ships launched from secret bases hidden inside dark nebula clouds. Everywhere across human space, the same message echoed through military channels. All fleets assemble. Days passed, and the number of ships kept growing. Alien intelligence networks soon began to notice unusual activity. Their long-range sensors detected hyperspace traffic moving toward the Sol system. At first, the reports seemed normal. A few thousand ships were not surprising during wartime. But the numbers kept increasing. 5,000. 10,000. 20,000. Soon alien spies realized something was very wrong. Humanity was not preparing a normal fleet. They were gathering everything. In the Sol system, the fleets began arriving one after another. Warships dropped out of hyperspace near Jupiter and Saturn, filling the empty space between the planets. The view from Earth was unbelievable. The sky above the solar system was slowly filling with human warships. Gigantic dreadnoughts floated beside massive carriers. Long lines of destroyers moved into formation. Supply ships and command vessels waited behind them. Even experienced Terran officers had never seen anything like it. Inside the main Terran command ship, Admiral Marcus Hale stood in front of a massive holographic display. The display showed the growing fleet surrounding the solar system. Every few minutes, more ships appeared on the screen. Fleet commanders reported their arrivals one by one. Fourth Outer Fleet has entered formation. Centauri Defense Fleet has arrived. 7th Expeditionary Fleet ready for orders. The numbers kept rising. The galaxy watched quietly. Alien intelligence agencies began sharing their data with the Galactic Council. At first, many leaders believed the reports were wrong. No civilization could gather such a massive fleet so quickly. But the evidence continued to grow. Finally, one council scientist calculated the total number of human warships detected near the Sol system. The number appeared on the main screen. The entire council chamber fell silent. 700,000. 700,000 human warships. No empire in galactic history had ever assembled a fleet even close to that size. Even the strongest alien empires controlled only a fraction of that number. But humanity had done it. The Terran fleet stretched across entire regions of space. The ships were organized into thousands of battle groups, each one capable of destroying an entire planetary defense network. And they were all waiting for one command. In the command center of the Terran flagship, Admiral Hale studied the massive fleet displayed before him. A young officer stepped closer. "Admiral," he said quietly. "All fleets are now in position." Hale nodded slowly. For a moment, he simply looked at the screen. 700,000 ships. 700,000 answers to the destruction of New Carthage. He turned toward the communication officer. "Send the message." Within seconds, the signal traveled across the galaxy. Every major empire received the same transmission. It came from the United Terran Defense Fleet. The message was simple. "This is humanity. You destroyed one of our colonies. Now our fleets are moving." And far away, inside the territory of the Varkathi Dominion, military sensors suddenly detected something terrifying. Hundreds of thousands of hyperspace signals. Heading directly toward their borders. Inside the territory of the Varkathi Dominion, everything seemed normal at first. Their border fleets were confident. The Dominion had one of the strongest militaries in the galaxy. For centuries, no civilization had ever challenged their power. When they attacked the human colony of New Carthage, they believed it would only send a warning. A small lesson for a young civilization. They expected humanity to complain, maybe protest in the Galactic Council, but never start a real war. Because no one had ever challenged the Dominion and survived. But several weeks after their attack, the Dominion's long-range sensors began to detect something strange. At first, it looked like small hyperspace disturbances far beyond their borders. The sensor operators did not think much about it. Ships entered hyperspace every day across the galaxy. But the signals kept increasing. More distortions appeared in deep space. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Inside the Dominion's main border defense station, an officer stared at his sensor screen in confusion. "Commander," he said nervously, "we are detecting unusual hyperspace activity near Sector 12. The commander walked over calmly. "Trade ships?" The officer shook his head. "No, the signals are too large." More sensor alarms suddenly began flashing across the room. New hyperspace distortions were appearing everywhere along the border. The commander frowned. "How many ships are we talking about?" The officer hesitated before answering. "Too many to count." Suddenly, the first ships appeared. Space itself seemed to tear open as massive human warships dropped out of hyperspace. 1, 10, 100. Within seconds, the empty darkness beyond the Dominion's border was filled with enormous human battleships. Their engines burned like blue stars. Their weapons slowly powered up. The Dominion defense fleet rushed to respond. Hundreds of alien warships moved into formation, preparing to stop the invasion. But then something happened that none of them expected. More hyperspace portals opened. Then more. And more. The sensor screens began filling with signals so quickly that the computer struggled to track them. Human ships continued arriving in endless waves. Entire fleets appeared every few seconds. Gigantic carriers. Heavy dreadnoughts. Thousands of destroyers. The Dominion commander stared at the growing numbers in disbelief. This can't be possible, he whispered. The stars themselves seemed to disappear behind the incoming human fleet. Within minutes, the border region was completely surrounded by Terran warships. There were simply too many. Even before the battle began, the Dominion officers understood the terrible truth. Humanity had not sent a normal fleet. They had sent everything. Inside the Terran flagship at the front of the fleet, Admiral Marcus Hale watched the situation calmly. The massive holographic display showed the Dominion border defenses ahead. Compared to the human fleet, the alien ships looked small. "Admiral," a communication officer reported, "enemy fleet moving to intercept." Hale nodded. "Open a channel." Moments later, the Dominion command ship appeared on the screen. The alien commander looked angry but also slightly nervous. "You have violated Dominion space," he said sharply. "Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Hale did not raise his voice. He simply replied calmly. "You destroyed the colony of New Carthage." The alien commander answered coldly. "That colony was built in Dominion territory." For a moment, Hale remained silent. Then he gave his final reply. "You killed millions of humans." He paused. "And now we are here." Without waiting for another answer, Hale turned toward the weapons officer. "Begin the attack." Seconds later, the first Terran warships fired. Thousands of bright beams shot across space. Missile swarms launched from hundreds of ships at once. The Dominion fleet tried to fight back, but they were completely overwhelmed. Human ships surrounded them from every direction. Explosions filled the darkness. Within hours, the Dominion border defenses were gone. But the Terran fleet did not stop. The massive human armada continued moving deeper into Dominion space. System after system fell under Terran control. Across the galaxy, civilizations watched the reports in shock. For the first time in history, someone had challenged the Varkathi Dominion. And the Dominion was losing. The war did not last long. For centuries, the Varkathi Dominion had believed they were untouchable. Their fleets had crushed many smaller civilizations. Entire star systems had fallen under their rule. But they had never faced an enemy like humanity. The Terran fleet moved through Dominion space like a massive storm. System after system fell as the human armada advanced. 700,000 warships were simply too many to stop. Every time the Dominion tried to form a defense line, Terran fleets surrounded them from multiple directions. Human strategy was fast, organized, and overwhelming. Dominion military bases were destroyed. Defense stations were disabled. Shipyards were captured before new fleets could even launch. Within days, the outer regions of the Dominion collapsed. Across the galaxy, news networks reported the same shocking message. The Varkathi Dominion is retreating. Many civilizations could hardly believe it. The empire that once ruled entire sectors of space was suddenly losing battle after battle. But the Terran fleet did not attack civilian worlds. Human commanders avoided unnecessary destruction. They targeted only military fleets and strategic defenses. The goal was clear. This was not a war of conquest. It was a war of justice. Soon, the human armada reached the most important system in the Dominion. Their capital system. The Dominion government panicked as Terran fleets appeared at the edge of their territory. Emergency meetings were held across their leadership councils. For the first time in their history, fear filled the halls of their government. Their military leaders studied the Terran fleet numbers again and again. 700,000 warships. There was no possible way to defeat that force. Finally, the Dominion sent a request for communication. Inside the Terran flagship, Admiral Marcus Hale received the signal. "Admiral," the communication officer said, "the Dominion leadership is requesting negotiations." The room remained quiet. For several seconds, Hale said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. "Open the channel." The screen lit up, revealing the Dominion High Chancellor. The alien leader looked very different now. The confidence from earlier was gone. His voice was careful. "The Dominion requests an immediate ceasefire," he said. "We are prepared to discuss peaceful solutions." Admiral Hale listened without emotion. Behind him, the massive Terran fleet waited silently outside the Dominion capital world. Hundreds of thousands of warships surrounded the system. Every weapon was ready. Hale finally spoke. "Your fleets destroyed the colony of New Carthage," he said calmly. "Millions of innocent people died." The Chancellor lowered his head slightly. "That event was a mistake." For a moment, no one in the Terran command room moved. Then Hale replied quietly. "It was not a mistake. It was a choice." The Dominion leader said nothing. Hale continued. "We did not come here to destroy your people." The alien Chancellor looked up in surprise. "You didn't?" he asked. Hale shook his head slowly. "No. We came to make sure this never happens again." He signaled the communication officer. Seconds later, a new message was transmitted across the entire galaxy. Every empire, every trade network, every council chamber received the same broadcast from Earth. The message appeared on screens everywhere. One human colony was destroyed. 700,000 warships answered. Let this be remembered. The transmission ended. Around the Dominion capital, the massive Terran fleet slowly began to withdraw. The war was over. Humanity had proven its strength. Across the galaxy, civilizations would remember this moment for generations. They would remember the day a single colony was destroyed. And how humanity answered with a fleet large enough to shake the stars. From that day forward, one truth became clear to everyone in the galaxy. Humanity desired peace. But if someone harmed their people, humanity would respond with the full power of the stars.